So don't begrudge Cantor that $3.5 million. If anything, it's not a salary for his new job. It's payment for services already rendered.
Eric Cantor rewrites an electoral defeat into a $3.5 million win. $3.5 million is the minimum amount that Eric Cantor will be paid in his first year as an investment banker. Investment banking is, of course, not banking as we consumers know it. There are no drive-through ATMs involved, no cash machines of any kind, and nothing that we would really recognize as banking. It's really just deal-making, business deal-making, massaging money into more money and taking home huge amounts of money in the process. And by huge, I don't mean Eric Cantor's starting salary of $3.5 million. I mean the hundreds of millions of dollars that far less famous investment bankers routinely take home every year for doing nothing particularly difficult or valuable. The two best ways to get into investment banking are going to fancy college or business schools with a very old name, or becoming a powerful member of Congress. Eric Cantor had absolutely no intention of becoming an investment banker until this happened.
I know there's a lot of long faces here tonight, and it's disappointing, sure. But I believe in this country. I believe there's opportunity around the next corner for all of us.
Well, there was opportunity around the next corner for Eric Cantor. That was Eric Cantor 3 months ago, losing in a Republican primary in Virginia. Congressman Cantor had 7 months left to serve in the House of Representatives before a new member would be sworn into his seat. But Eric Cantor couldn't wait to get out of Congress. And Elizabeth Warren thinks she knows why. Here's what she told Katie Couric of Yahoo News.
Let me ask you about former House Majority Leader Eric Cantor's new job. He's just landed a multi-million-dollar job at an investment bank. I saw you shake your head as soon as I mentioned this.
You know, how wrong can this be? That basically what's happening here is that people work in Washington and, man, they hit that revolving door with a speed that would blind you and head straight out into the industry, not because they bring great expertise and insight, but because they're selling access back in to their former colleagues who are still writing policy, who are still making laws. I just think this is fundamentally the wrong approach, and I think it worries me about what happens if people in government are looking for that next job. You know, yeah, I'm working now at, you know, not as much money as I could be making, but when I leave here, that's where I'm headed. You know, that ultimately infects whatever it is that they're doing. And I just think this is wrong, just wrong.
Never mind that Eric Cantor ran for a 2-year term when Virginia's 7th District re-elected him to Congress in 2012. Why should Eric Cantor hang out in Congress making $174,000 a year? That's what his paycheck was busted down to when he lost his leadership position. $174,000 a year when he can immediately go hang his congressional mementos in his investment banking office and immediately start making $3.5 million a year. Who would do that? Who would hang out for that low pay? Why hang in there and represent the people of the 7th District for another 5 months? Just because he said he would when he ran for that office? If Eric Cantor had stayed in office until the end of his term, he would have been paid an additional $72,500 for those last 5 months. Instead, he will make $1,458,833 by running out the door as fast as he can.
Serving as a 7th District congressman and then having the privilege to be majority leader has been one of the highest honors of my life. I'm honored that I've had the privilege to serve and represent the people of Virginia's 7th District.
I'm sure Eric Cantor meant it every time he said it, that representing the people of the 7th District was one of the highest honors of his life. But for Eric Cantor and many other members of Congress, both Democrats and Republicans before him, honor has a price.